Hello everyone, Dr. Z here, and it's so nice to see you again. And I hope your day has been going really well so far. So it's story time, and I would like to share a story about becoming assertive. But before sharing the story, I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment or two because I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure others would too. I'm sure that most of us, if not all of us, we've experienced having to become assertive at some point in our lives, or we might have struggled with this idea. My story is situated in my high school experience. So it was my first year of going to high school. And actually my first day of high school, I would be riding the bus for the very first time. I was really excited because I had picked out my clothes. I was thinking I was going to meet new kids and I was going to have a really wonderful first day and just year. So the first day, I I should say that I am the last person to get on the bus. So all the kids are on the bus. I'm the last person to get on the bus. I'm excited. I step on the bus and I walk towards one of the kids and I asked them if I could sit with them. Instead of making it known that I would just sit down, I asked one of the kids. She looks up at me with a mean look on her face and she says no. And she follows it by cursing me out. So the excitement and the happiness that I had about attending school for the first time, it changed. I had become a little fearful because I was wondering if this person was going to hurt me. So I decided to not push that. I had gone to another kid. They said no. So this was an issue that I had experienced throughout several times a week when I would be treated not so kindly by some of the kids on the bus in trying to secure a seat or secure a seat. So I had become significantly stressed and I had communicated what was going on to my parents. And also at this time too, I was heavily involved in my spiritual path, my spiritual journey. So I had decided that I was going to pray about it. I prayed as if it was the last thing that could ever happen. I prayed so much because I was so afraid that I had gradually over time actually became confident enough to stand my ground, even if that meant having to fight. Because my concern was that I was going to get beaten up by one or more of the kids, and it was going to be a difficult time for me. However, it never got to that point. I had gotten so much confidence in that I would still ask the kids if I could sit with them. However, I was going to sit down because again, I was ready to stand my ground. And if I needed to, I was going to see what I was made of during these times. So it actually went well. And part of this too is because eventually I would start engaging in sports at school, and that took me away from having to ride the bus to and from school. The days that I did end up having to ride the bus, I would bolt out of the school once the bell rang just to get to make sure I could secure a seat. Years later, this is what is interesting. Years later, I was in graduate school, I believe. And I had met one of the kids who occasionally bullied me on the bus. She was actually taking a class from one class from my father, who was a professor at the university at the time. And I had run into her. She actually was sitting in his office and they were talking, and I was amazed that it was her. I remembered her. And we engaged in a little bit of talking, and we were sitting down and talking, and eventually we went for a walk and we talked some more because our conversation was really interesting. Now, I don't know if she remembered who I was or if she thought I was someone new, but she had stated at that time that she appreciated my father, thought he was a pretty decent man because he had been kind to her, and especially because she had mentioned that her father was not present in her life. And she said that I was lucky. And so before our conversation ended, because the conversation was so well, she was so compassionate and so kind, it was hard for me to know that this is the same person that had bullied me years prior. I felt good after that, after our meeting. And I had told her that I hoped that things would get better between her and her father. And I never saw her again. And what I had realized was that maybe her, other kids on the bus when I was being bullied at that time, maybe they had things going on in their lives that had them to feel that they did not have the control that they were trying to get by harming someone else, or trying to gain popularity or to belong by bullying someone else. Maybe they were bullied or being in some type of abusive or neglectful situation. And so reflecting back, I was wondering if that was something that maybe she experienced. Maybe she was trying to belong. In any case, that taught me that it's important to realize, that we sometimes don't have an idea what's going on with another person and how they relate to us. And so having compassion for others is important. However, also a valuable lesson that I learned was to assert myself, because I was a very shy kid. I was a sweet kid, and being bullied at the time, even though it was scary to me then, these kids were my teachers, and that they helped me to learn the importance of becoming assertive. I likely needed, or it was least helpful, to have to be in that situation when I could learn how to speak up for myself and not have others push me around. So I am grateful for the experience, while at the same time it was very scary. And I learned how to gain qualities or enhance or strengthen qualities that I needed to strengthen my character, because I was very nice and sweet. But not everyone is nice and sweet to us. Sometimes there are people, hence my story, when people or kids, other kids, or we'll just say people, are not going to be nice or as kind as we would like for them to be, or we think they need to be, or they might not understand or know how to. In either case, in either situation, nonetheless, it is important that we know how to be assertive, set our boundaries, state where we are and how we feel about something, so that we can protect ourselves, to make sure that we're safe psychologically, emotionally, physically, and etc. So being assertive, which I learned through these experiences, offered me an opportunity to empower myself and to know that I can have the control over situations that seemed uncontrollable. And I still practice becoming or being assertive. Of course, I've gotten way much better since my childhood. But it can be a difficult feat to bring in the assertive side of ourselves sometimes, because there are individuals that can really test us. So I'm grateful for the experience and having had it. And I would like to ask you, have you had, or are you going through having to becoming or being assertive at any point in time in your life, whether it was the past, maybe it's now, that has been difficult for you, or had you to strengthen your character in some way? I would encourage you to share a comment or so down below. I would love to know your thoughts, and I'm sure others would too. And also, of course, I'm going to encourage you to find at least one person, share an experience or story with someone in regards to assertiveness and how you implemented it in your life, or how it showed up in your life. And pay attention to how you felt in sharing the story, what you noticed, what you felt after sharing it. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.